Imagine this. It's 1942. You live what looks like a normal life in Austria, in Vienna. Life goes on as normal and you happen to be a psychiatrist. But then a war breaks out. Germans invade your country, your pregnant wife, your parents and you all get captured and sent to a concentration camp. Life in concentration camps is horrific to say the least. People live in small, crowded spaces. They have little to no food and have to do hard slave work. This work included digging trenches, constructing barracks, extracting heavy stones in stone quarries, and building mass graves for the people dying around you. The work had to be done with very minimal breaks, tools or protective gear. There are no proper toilets or medical care, and punishments were severe. Everyone is scared, nobody knows if they will ever make it out alive, and lots of people die around you from suicide, illness, execution, gas chambers, and extreme weather conditions, to name a few. Your mother, father, and pregnant wife all die. But somehow you make it out alive. And there you are, having to put your life back together, carrying the horrific scars from the concentration camps with your whole family dead. Honestly, if at this point you continue to live your life miserable and depressed over the losses of your family and because of the trauma that the concentration camps have done to you, nobody would blame you. But instead, you spend the next 50 years of your life rebuilding your life, you get remarried, you write 39 books in 74 languages, of which one is a New York Times bestseller, whatever that means. It looks like every book is a New York Times bestseller. But anyway, a groundbreaking book that sold millions of copies around the world and influenced a lot of people. You receive numerous awards for your contributions to psychology and humanity, and you influence many therapists, counselors, and individuals seeking to find meaning in their lives. The story I just told you is the true life story of Dr. Viktor Frankl. Many people in the concentration camps have lost all hope. That's why they committed suicide. But Viktor Frankl didn't. He said he had two reasons to live. One of them was love, and one of them was to, in the future, give lectures about how horrible life was in the concentration camps. Viktor Frankl found meaning to live through those horrific scenarios of the concentration camps. Viktor's meaning for life was to help other people find meaning in life. Before the war broke out, he was already working as a psychiatrist. He was already helping people to prevent them from suicide. Isn't it ironic? He found meaning in helping other people find meaning. It's like a positive pyramid scheme. Viktor Frankl also said that a lack of meaning leads to aggression, depression, and addictions. Meaning is essentially what everybody is looking for. Jordan Peterson said that we need meaning to counter the suffering. Because suffering in life is guaranteed. It's inevitable for us to lose our parents, we will get old, you might get sick, you're gonna have to pay taxes, and these are just to name a few. There are many horrible things that human beings have to go through. Suffering is inevitable for all of us. And so in order to make the suffering meaningful or worth it, we need to find things that are meaningful to us, things that give us joy, things that we live for. Now, of course, this all sounds obvious. Some people would argue actually that they live for something greater after life. They live for something after death, as if they go to some sort of paradise, and this is obviously what some religions suggest. But if you don't believe that, then you're gonna have to find something meaningful here on planet Earth. And while relationships, self-care, and appreciating life's beauty provide meaning, they often are not enough, leading to a desire to do something more with our time. I categorize doing something as two things: creating and consuming. Consumption is pretty easy. It's like eating ice cream, watching a movie, going to a theme park, having sex, scrolling on social media, consuming fast food, whatever your jam is. But these things, they can only bring us so far. As soon as you start doing those things too much, they will have diminishing returns. That means that the more you do them, the less enjoyable they are. Having sex is amazing, but if you have sex for 5 days straight every day, you might get sick of it. Now, okay, of course, some people might be thinking, you don't know me. Let's assume that you're a normal person like most people. When you do something every day, day in, day out, you're gonna get sick of it. If you then stop doing it for a few days, then it becomes enjoyable again. Now, on the opposite of consumption, you got creation. And there is this story of a painter who once was painting for 5 days or 4 days in a row or something. I don't know the details of the story, but the story goes, he was painting and he didn't go to the bathroom, he didn't sleep, he didn't eat, because he was so engaged with his painting. He was in this workflow and he literally was in this blissful state of working. And this is a state of creation, which is also very meaningful, which is a state of well-being. In ancient Greek philosophy, there was a philosopher called Aristotle, and he spoke about eudaimonic versus hedonic happiness, with hedonic being consumption and pleasure seeking, where eudaimonic would be more focused on personal development and creating and helping others. I personally don't think it has to be black and white. We don't have to do only consuming or only creating. I think they go hand in hand. Think about when you work the whole day, after a hard day of work, when you come home and you enjoy a meal or a dessert or a beer, then that tastes really nice. But if it's the only thing that you do all day, then again, it starts to give diminishing returns and eventually you won't enjoy it and it might even make you miserable. So if that philosophy is true, then that indicates that we need both. A bit of pleasure, a bit of creation. And pleasure is obviously easy to find. Nowadays in society, there is thousands of movies to watch, Netflix to watch, YouTube videos to watch. You can easily access porn, you can easily access very unhealthy foods everywhere for quite low prices. You could play video games. There is so much to do. You could kill your time with pleasure seeking in so many different ways. But meaningful activities, they might not always be that obvious to some people. Those meaningful activities, they're often referred to as life purpose. And people have this idea that it's something you can find and then you know what you want to do with a passion for the rest of your life. I honestly don't think that it's the case that you magically find it. I think that it can be many different things. Humans can have many different interests during their life. And another reason that I don't think it works that way is because I think you get it through experience. And sometimes it even comes from things that you have to do. Think about somebody that needed a shelter to live in. So they start building a house and all of a sudden they go like, oh, well, that was actually pretty fun. So that was not necessarily because they had a burning passion for it, but more a necessity, and the joy just came from doing it. Now, let's also not forget that having to find purpose is a pretty luxurious problem. And that I think is an effect that in our society nowadays, everything is so comfortable, right? Most houses are already built. We have food waiting for us in the supermarket. Yes, you have to go to do work, you have to earn money, but even outside of that, most people have quite a bit of free time. I understand when you have children and you have other things to do, some people feel like they have no time left at all. But let's assume that you do. Then you actually have to make up something to do with that time. We have so much time in our hands that it actually becomes a problem. We just have to make something up. We just have to find something meaningful to do. And you see that a lot with people that get into retirement as well. They have always been spending time on their career, and all of a sudden they stop and have all this time on their free hands. And I could see that that becomes a challenge. I can personally honestly relate to this. A couple months ago, I had my visa for Australia granted, and there was not really anything that I had to do. I had an online business with Spotify playlists that was making me more than enough money to live, and I only needed to work like an hour or so a day to make it work. And this is what for a lot of people sounds like the dream, right? Like, what? You only work an hour a day? So I'm not gonna try and sit here and complain about the situation. It is really awesome, and I would choose that over having to do something that I don't like any day, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is that I had so much time on my hands, you don't just want to sit and consume all day. And I think that some people have this idea that they just want to win the lottery and eat in nice restaurants for the rest of their life and go on holiday, and I am pretty sure that this will not be the case. I am not extremely rich, I cannot tell you. Maybe it is fulfilling to constantly travel and live a lavish lifestyle, but I honestly think that will also give diminishing returns and that will get old. So I don't think that will work. I think we still have to find something meaningful. And to find that, again, that's the point of this video. It can be pretty overwhelming. You see, some people, they look like they live a life and they always knew it. They didn't have to think too much about it. They knew what kind of career they wanted to get into. They know they wanted to have kids and things just start happening. But for other people, it doesn't. When we are born, we go to school and our life path is laid out for us until we are 18 or sometimes a bit later. You go to school and you make fun with your friends. That's it. And then school ends and then you have all these options. You can literally do whatever you want. And that can be, again, overwhelming if you don't know what to do with it. So, okay, I made my point. You're gonna have to find meaningful activities because watching Netflix, drinking beer, snorting and having sex all day is not gonna work. So if that's the case, then let's have a look at people who are actually living meaningful lives. And I know that this is tricky because people can look very happy on the outside, but on the inside maybe they're not happy at all. But look, I follow my gut feeling and I got the feeling that a lot of these people that I'm gonna mention live a pretty meaningful life. We got, for example, Graham Stephan. He's a YouTuber who talks about finance and he loves making videos and helping people make money and talk about finance. Does he make money with it himself? Of course. Some people do things also because they want to make money, and that's okay. I don't think that that is their main motivation, and that's what it's all about. If you can combine a meaningful activity with doing something that is also good for others, then that is the jackpot in my opinion, because you're doing something you enjoy and you're also bringing value to others, which is going to make you even feel more fulfilled. We got Jeremy Eater, not sure how to pronounce his name. He's not that wildly famous. He's got a pretty big YouTube channel and he does fitness stuff, right? He tells you how to have a healthy posture, how to build muscle and so on. And you can tell that he puts his heart and soul into these videos. He really loves making those videos, and that's very meaningful for him. And obviously that's what I'm doing too. I make these videos because I find them meaningful, and I hope some people will find some value in it. Next up we got Primal Technology. This guy just builds awesome stuff in the jungle. Why? Just because he likes it. Gary V, Alex Hermosi, Mr. Beast. It doesn't always have to be something with a high aspiring goal, to be honest. It could be a farmer living somewhere remote. He finds meaning in working on the land, on his farm, probably living with his family. It could be a mother raising kids. Raising kids can be extremely fulfilling. And that's the tricky part. When you live for something else, it's proven to be very, very fulfilling. This is also why some people who live in third world countries could still be very fulfilled, because they got their meaningful activities every day, which is providing shelter and food for their family, and it connects them and it fulfills them. We got obviously musicians and artists. Creating a beautiful art piece or work can be so fulfilling. And if people on top of that enjoy it, that's an extra bonus. Does that mean that these people live perfect lives? That they never have problems? Of course not. That's what it's all about. They're still human. They're still gonna have tough days. And in fact, I think when you do those meaningful activities, they don't always have to be easy either. Those obstacles, the challenges, they're part of the journey, as they say, right? It's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. And I think that's true. So how did these people find those meaningful activities? I'm gonna assume that there was some voice inside of them talking to them and giving them the idea. They had creativity and they just went and did it. I actually believe that most people, or if not everybody, has that internal voice. It tells you what to do. We can kind of call it your higher self or whatever you want to call it, right? But there is some part of you that is actually guiding you. But if you're constantly stimulated by external things, you might have lost connection with it. If you are watching Netflix all day, if you're scrolling social media all day, or like me when I was younger playing video games all day, you have no connection with that part of you. You don't develop new interests. Michael Pilarczyk is a motivational speaker from the Netherlands who I really like, and I watch his podcast. And in there he said that when you lose connection with that internal voice, when you ignore it for too long, it can make you depressed, miserable, and even suicidal. And for me, that honestly makes sense. So how can you reconnect with that internal radar? It's very simple to unplug from all that stimulation. For me, it was League of Legends. I was playing League of Legends 5, 6, 7 hours a day, doing nothing else. I was way younger back then, and I didn't have any responsibility because I was living at home. But that was clearly in my way. Maybe for you, it's something else. Maybe you scroll on social media. Maybe you watch series all the time. Whatever it is, but if you do that activity, then most likely you know. And for me, I knew it because there was moments that I didn't really enjoy it anymore, and that's when I knew I should stop doing this. Because why am I doing it? Sometimes it's nice. There is nothing wrong with video games, nothing wrong with watching movies, with eating ice cream, any of those things, right? But when you're doing them and you feel like I don't really enjoy this even, when that diminishing return really starts kicking in and you still do it, that's when I knew it just became a habit. So what you can do is unplug yourself from that stimulation. Now here I want to give one disclaimer, which is that if it's an addiction, this can obviously be a big problem. And Gabor Mate is a writer that I really like. He says wherever there is addiction, there is pain. And that pain can come from childhood trauma. And once again, I'm not going to try and sit here like I am a psychologist or a psychiater, that I know all of these issues, because I don't. The best that I know is that if you have that problem, you're going to have to solve it. And healing in itself, from everything that I could find on the internet, seems to be a very, very complex problem. Helping people to heal from trauma, it looks like the professionals, the smart minds out there, the scientists, the psychologists, the philosophists, they don't have a one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. People obviously struggle with addiction, and we cannot give them a pill or we cannot do one therapy session and fix them. But there is many people that have managed to turn their life around radically. So what I suggest you can do, if you think you have some of these problems, is find them and try to learn from them, because all you can do is try. You have to keep trying. I honestly, personally, sometimes feel sad for no reason. I don't fully understand that either. Is that trauma? Is that normal part of being a human being? I don't know. It comes and it goes, and maybe it's just part of being human. It's honestly not very debilitating. Whenever it's there, I just kind of let it be there. Sometimes I try to look after solutions. Where does it come from? I'm a very introspective person. I try to learn about it, but I don't have the answer to fully fix it. However, to jump back onto the topic of consumption, maybe you are just over-consuming things. Maybe the problem is that you have no contact with that internal radar just because you are constantly stimulated by things. And a solution for that can be obviously to stop doing them. Meditation is a great tool for me. I try to meditate every day. Every morning I try to meditate for half an hour. But you can also do, for example, a dopamine detox, which is basically doing nothing. From the moment you wake up, you don't eat any food. All you do is you sit or you walk. You can go for a walk in nature, you can make notes in a journal, or you can sit in the garden or sit in your house, whatever, but you cannot watch TV, you cannot be on your phone, you cannot read a book, you cannot maybe exercise. It's not too stimulating, judge for yourself. But generally, if you stick to those rules, to literally just be, just let your mind be, can be extremely helpful, and it might take you a while. And if you've been engaging with those stimulating activities, you might even experience withdrawal symptoms, but you're just gonna have to wear them off. Just keep going through it, and eventually you will start reconnecting with that radar. Some psychologists even argue that gaining new interests in different things is actually a sign of healing. And see, that has definitely been the case for me. After a day of doing nothing, going for a nice long walk, just doing absolutely nothing, no food from the moment you wake up till you go to sleep, no consumption of anything other than water, and just being, that voice will start to speak to you. Hey, maybe I want to learn a new instrument, or maybe I want to start making a YouTube video like I'm doing now. Maybe you want to start a business. Whatever it is, these ideas, they are there.